Hi friends, welcome to the coding challenge by Asim Jain, and this challenge is basically you have been given a matrix, and now in this matrix or grid, wherever you find zero, that particular row and column must get nullified or zeroified. So here is the expectation. So you would be given the matrix, and then you need to make that entire row and column as zero. So let's see how it works. What we did is we are just calling our solution method, and then once our matrix get the solution applied, it is supposed to be the same as the expected matrix. This is our test case. So let's start writing the code, and this is from the the cracking the coding interview question 1.9. So read for the more details. It's mentioned over here. Now the solution goes like we will need to make two lists basically, which would carry the values of the row and the column, which means that whatever is the row and the column which are empty, like which we need to empty out, we are just keeping track of that. Now we might need to iterate over the array basically, whatever the grid has been passed. For example, here this grid has been passed to us. So we will iterate over like the rows and the column, and then we will compare if the particular element uh, at that location is zero. So what we would do is if zero is equal to our matrix row and column. Row would go as I and column would go as j. The first or the outer loop basically is always the row. If you see here, the outer loop would be the row and the inner loop would be the columns. So we are all set here. If this thing happens, then we are going to push the data uh, for the row in our row matrix, and similarly for the column matrix we have the list which would take care of this. Now once you have this data, you will figure out which row and which column needs to be emptied out. In this case, probably this entire column and this entire row needs to be nullified or zeroified. So now we need to write a code which can do the zeroification for us. So we can write a quick method which would say zeroified, and we are going to pass a matrix, and then we can accept the argument as um, row and column. So we are going to repurpose it in a bit. Let me show you how. So once we iterate over this, what we are going to do is we are going to have a condition, and based on that condition, we would make that particular row and column assigned to 0, means zeroified. So we just need to tweak this condition. So what would this condition be? So when we repurpose this zeroified, what we're going to do is we will see if our row is not null. So we would say uh, we would have two brackets actually, two brackets, and then we would have the or condition. So first condition is if row is not null, or if column is not null. And if this is not null, then what? Then there would be certain condition which would be row is equal to I, and column is equal to j. So one of these condition might get true, and whenever that condition is true, it would zeroify it. Now we have to smartly repurpose this method to be used for both of these. So we will use the enhanced loop here, and we would say I. So first we would go and iterate over this row, and we would say 0 5, and we have the matrix, and since this one is the row, we would pass I, and for the column we would pass null. We must have to duplicate, like repurpose this, and we will change it to column. So this time we are iterating over column, and then we will pass the column value here, like the I, whatever is the element which is getting assigned. So once we are done with that, probably we are done. We can just do a testing, and we are having some issues. So let's try to resolve it. So this things is typo. Basically, it's not one. It should be I, and now all the test case pass. So that's how this thing worked, and this is like super simple. I know we could make it easier by splitting up this code, but we just repurposed the zeroified to optimize it and to get rid of the duplicate code actually. So yeah, I have shared the GitHub code in the comment section, no, like in the description of this video. And if you need to see more challenges like this, just subscribe my channel and let me know what you specifically want to see. I can publish videos based on your liking. Thank you guys. Bye.